You're still watching TVC Breakfast. Now, back in Lagos, it's very important we let you know updates that happen in Nigeria from social media. And Olamide Odekunle is standing by to give us all that news. There's a lot of juicy stories today. Good morning, Olamide.
Good morning, lovely. A lot is happening, and we're going to get into some talk about tax in the context of crypto. Ibrahim, I've never been happier to see you.
Good to see you too, Olamide.
Let's hop right into it. Good morning, Nigeria. I like to say that TVC has a finger on the pulse and our eyes on the streets, and here on the Trending Now segment, my team and I do our best to bring you all the trending stories that are shaping the world that you and I live in. We begin today with some news about tax law, where Nigeria is taking a firm step to bring cryptocurrency activity under its tax system with the Nigeria Tax Administration Act, the NTAA 2005. And under this new tax law, tax authorities can now track crypto transactions by linking them to real people using tax identification numbers and national identification numbers. That would be your NINs. Now, this is indeed a big shift for Nigeria. It's one of the world's largest crypto markets, where digital asset tracking has mostly operated outside the tax system. But instead of monitoring the blockchain itself, the government is now focusing on who owns the crypto. By linking transactions to verified identities, authorities can now compare crypto income with what individuals have declared in their taxes. And crypto platforms will now be required to collect and report TINs and NINs, meaning basically that crypto transactions will no longer be anonymous for tax purposes. But this move does bring Nigeria in line with global standards, including the OECD's crypto asset reporting framework, which took effect on the 1st of January 2026. Lots of people weren't happy about it online, but let's take a look at what you had to say about this. Omotayo says, it is not bad as the federal government wants to tax every income so as to generate more revenue, but the government should use the money to generate efficiently and effectively. God bless Nigeria. Amen. Bulivan says, why are you taxing transactions that banks don't even accept directly? It's like these guys just wake up from one side of the bed and create a new law. Interesting there. For the purposes of this, Ibrahim, I'm going to start with you so you can tell us a bit more about this. Now, there's been a lot of backlash online. Public sentiment is generally swaying towards the side of, banks for the longest time. Crypto was not even legal or accepted tender. And now you're telling me that I have to declare my crypto. What does this mean for crypto traders in Nigeria who have carved a niche for themselves economically and digitally, and now they're facing real world taxation?
I think it's not out of place, for anyone to pay tax on whatever it is that they made as income. This is according to global standards. Before, as you said, crypto used to be frowned upon, but now it's becoming that digital currency to the extent that it's now legal tender in some countries. We mentioned USA, President Donald Trump, always talking about crypto. At a point, he also floated his own coin. So if we have Binance, we have Binance. We have different, crypto platforms where you can trade, you can make gains and make loss. You are not expected to pay taxes on your losses, but you pay tax on your gains. So it is also going to help the government to be able to trace illicit fund transactions and cyber fraud and all of that. So whatever it is that is being done, I feel it's not out of place. But one thing is, by the time you're using your TIN, you're using your name, then the government will be able to trace any transactions that is done, so that any monies sent within or outside of the country, it will be traceable. So it won't have terrorism financing and all of that. But it's good. I think it's a way to go for the government.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Ibrahim. Talking about cryptocurrency is something that is very prominent in Nigeria. So it's not bad that we see that now this is going to be taxed. But like we said earlier, a lot of people that do not like to pay tax, even businesses, they will not like any law about the tax because they're not just interested to pay tax. But if this will help for accountability, help for transparency too as well, I think that is a good one, actually.
I'm wondering why anybody that's making money in a country, in a particular place, wouldn't want to pay tax. It is one law that is so old. So if we are going to tax cryptocurrency, those that do cryptocurrency business that reside in Nigeria owe Nigeria the tax that comes from the profit. Your ED.
Absolutely, and to my crypto traders out there that are pushing back against this, put into context the fact that this is following world standards. So Nigeria will now stand toe-to-toe with countries like United Kingdom and America who follow their tax closely. And this will also give you a lot of regulation and accountability in terms of how you're tracking and trading in cryptocurrency. Thank you so much for your input, team. This news and this story is very interesting. Now, a self-proclaimed marabout or a native doctor in Mali has been arrested for fraud after collecting about 33,500 euros from supporters promising to secure an Africa Cup of Nations victory for the national team through spiritual means. Now, this man, identified as Sinayogo, reportedly raised more than 22 million francs, assuring bankers that the Eagles of Mali would lift the AFCON trophy. Well, unfortunately, Mali's campaign ended in disappointment last Friday after a 1-0 quarter-final defeat to Senegal. And following this loss, an angry crowd reportedly gathered at his home, prompting police to intervene and remove him for his own safety. He was later arrested in the capital, Bamako, and he's being held by the Cybercrime Division. And authorities are confirming that charlatanism and native doctorism is punishable by law in Mali. Officials also noted that making the arrest earlier than this would have been difficult amidst all the heightened emotions of the AFCON tournament. So they had to wait till he had actually lost before they stepped in to arrest him. Let's have a look at social media. Kepa says, who paid that money in the first place? That person should also be arrested. And now, team, I thought that this was a very interesting story to take because we know that I believe Nigeria is playing against Morocco today in Rabat. And it just shows you the lengths that people will go to secure victories. I mean, juju on a football pitch, but it's not unheard of. And some of these practices have actually worked in the past, according to some online reports. Toma.
Yes, there was a time that said that there's this juju that when you use it, and a player kicks the ball, the goalkeeper sees 7 balls. Maybe that's...
or sees a lion.
Or sees a lion's head coming. Maybe that's the juju this guy wanted to use, but somehow he didn't do it well. I'm thinking, how did he translate that lie into making money? The guy is a smart guy. You know, it's good he's in police net.
He's a dubious guy.
Sharp guy.
Right? It's good he's in police net. And those people that paid, come on, man.
Come on.
You know, I'll say something. You have to be very, very intelligent to pull what this guy pulled off, honestly speaking. And I think that is good that they caught him young because this guy is going to be a kingpin of 419. Because for you to be able to collect money from people with this kind of means, like, I don't believe in all this jazz. It's my own thing. Like, maybe because I'm a Christian, I feel like all these things don't work. So for you to say that you want to do jazz in ball, how can you? The ball is what you play. If you play well, you win. If you don't play well, you don't win. Some people even say football is luck. So where do you now bring jazz and football together? This man he should not come out anytime soon. This was quite really dubious.
Actually, I would not sit here and say African magic or African science is not real. It's actually real. But the thing is, one thing people don't understand is that by the time you think you are very good at what you do, you also have a senior who knows better than you. So maybe on his own prediction, there's another predictor, someone who didn't make it public, and then was able to topple the guy. But it's so crazy. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. Nobody knows tomorrow.
Exactly.
So if you're not pumping your money because someone said this is the luck that's going to come or this is what's going to happen tomorrow by prophesying, come on, man, you need to wake up.
Come on, man. Absolutely. Team, what we now need to remember, a lesson for all of us, juju should always meet preparation. There has to be a middle ground.
the guy could have teleported himself before.
I tell you. And how come his juju did not help him know that they were coming to pick him up?
Can you imagine? It means it doesn't work, actually.
Thank you so much for your input, team. Moving on, still in the world of sports, onto some serious news. Now, as the Super Eagles push for another Africa Cup of Nations triumph, attention is once again on Nigeria's rich sporting talent and the urgent need to properly harness it. But beyond passion and skill, experts say that success in sports depends on financial backing, structured development programs, strong administration, and most importantly, the right training environments and modern sporting infrastructure to nurture the next generation. Concern is now mounting online following a viral video of the National Stadium in Lagos, Surulere, showing the once iconic facility now dilapidated and abandoned. The stadium, which once famously hosted the 1980 AFCON final, where Nigeria won its first continental title, and served as a hub for major national and international sporting events, is now being described by many as a shadow of its former self. And social media users have expressed disappointment in this, questioning how such a facility that once symbolized national pride could be left to decay. And many are asking a very important question: what becomes of the next generation of Nigerian athletes who depend on public sporting infrastructure to train, to grow, and to compete on the global stage? Let's see what you had to say about this. Olufemi Okunola says, how does a country abandon a whole national stadium sitting in the heart of Lagos? How? And we have the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development. What kind of country is this, for goodness sake? Very interesting, team. I thought that this was a very, very timely conversation, especially because, you know, Nigeria is currently actively in the AFCON and we've been bringing home trophies. But this stadium that once hosted the 1980 AFCON match that gave us one of our first continental and international titles is being left derelict. So it's very easy to come online and to show our support for the Super Eagles. But I think support should start at the level of policy, at the level of infrastructure, at the level of providing the right environment to harness the next crop of Nigerian sporting talent. It's absolutely unacceptable. I mean, if I can get that video up to be playing, I want us to see just how bad, you know, this national monument has fallen. Etoma.
Yes, about 3 or 4 years ago, a contract for the renovation of the National Stadium was actually awarded. And then bureaucracy, bottlenecks and all that came and stifled it. So the state at which it is now, I'm talking about the contract, I do not know. But for us, it's an eyesore, it's an insult on the nation sporting. And when you think of the Super Eagles, what they are going to do today in Morocco, you wonder, if this tournament was held in Nigeria, would they have played it in a pitch that looks this way? So we should wake up and do something as a people, as a government, and fix that stadium. It is a landmark. It is a thing of pride for our country. We need to do it very fast.
You know, for me, I'll say, when I see things in Nigeria and I hear Nigerians talk about infrastructure, I do not get so excited because I talk about the longevity. You know, how long would this last? We talk about sustainability, and that's the problem I think that we do not have in Nigeria. I'll take you a little bit, you know, to Ghana. If you see some of these things, how they're taken care of, talking about the National Theatre in Ghana, talk about the stadium in Ghana, it's a place that people go to take pictures. When you go to Ghana, you go to the stadium and actually go and take pictures. It's like a tourist site. So in Nigeria, when I see things like this, it really hurts me because this is very monumental. So I'm wondering, if people come, you know, for tourists, they want to see, you know, where the match was played in 1980, is this the place they're going to look at? And that's why people always keep giving us a bad rep in Nigeria. Ministry of Sports, what are they doing? A contract was allocated, and that's why we keep saying it. People's pockets always enjoy it rather, you know, than Nigeria enjoying, because I'm sure that that money has just entered into somebody's pockets and not caring about, you know, your country. I say, even if you want to steal, which is bad, at least do something. This looks really, really horrible. And, you know, I think that the Ministry of Sports should really stand up and make sure that this place is put right. It's a shame on us.
I think if anyone steals, whether 1 naira or 2 naira, I think the person should go to jail. We should begin to ask questions as regard how much was budgeted, you know, for the renovation, revamping of this pitch, of these football fields, you know, Lagos, Calabar, mention all of those places where we have Nigerian national stadiums. It should be well taken care of because, as you said, Rhea, you know, there should be monuments, you know, whatever it is that has been done, the matches that have been won, there should be wallpapers, there should be something like a museum, you know, around those, you know, football stadia. So it's something that we need to ask ourselves this question. Why is it that we find it difficult to maintain something, to maintain beautiful projects? We talk about Festa, talk about this, talk about that. You know, Nigeria is such a great country. We should not be great by size alone. We should be great with history as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and team, there's a video circulating of the chairman of the National Sports Commission, you know, coming out to say right now they have the biggest budget ever, the biggest sports allocation ever, you know, the commission has ever secured. And yes, here you are, there's a project right now that is waiting for help and is waiting for development. And this just shows you how important the Super Eagles are because they've been met with roadblocks at every level. The NFF refused to pay them, they didn't receive their match bonuses, even from down to receiving the proper kits to wear. It's great if our boys are able to play back home because that will really improve their morale. I hope the right authorities see this. Thank you so much for your input, team. Moving on to international news, where Uganda has ordered a nationwide internet shutdown just 2 days before presidential elections, as the long-serving leader Yoweri Museveni seeks to extend his nearly 40-year rule. Now, in a letter to internet service providers that was leaked, the Uganda Communications Commission said that this move was aimed at curbing the spread of misinformation, disinformation, electoral fraud, and preventing incitement to violence during the election period. But this directive, verified by government officials to AFP, was issued less than 48 hours before polls opened, despite repeated government assurances that there would be no internet blackout. There was no formal public announcement, but officials have admitted that authorities did not want to own the decision. But this is not the first time Uganda has done this. Uganda also shut down the internet during the 2021 elections, a vote that was widely criticized over allegations of rigging and state violence, particularly against the opposition led by Bobi Wine, who is once again contesting the presidency. But this sudden blackout has renewed concerns over transparency, over civil liberties, and electoral credibility as Ugandans head to the polls. And right now on social media, hashtag Uganda Decides 2026 is trending, and there's been a lot of outrage, and rightly so. Let's have a look at social media. Liberators Ugandans stay alert and vigilant. Internet shutdowns are a classic dictator's move before violence is unleashed. Samia Suluhu Hassan did exactly this during Tanzanian elections, cutting the internet for 6 days and then deploying a regime goons who opened fire on unarmed civilians. Thousands were slaughtered while the world was kept in the dark. Hashtag Museveni must go. Next Studio says, protecting the gains, they say. So the solution is to switch off the internet. The same internet businesses used to sell, journalists used to inform, families used to communicate, and young people used to earn. If the gains are so strong, they shouldn't fear Wi-Fi. If the progress is real, it shouldn't panic at tweets. And if democracy is healthy, it shouldn't need silence to survive. Shutting down the internet doesn't protect gains, it protects insecurity. And finally, Ogidi says this. He says it's very necessary for the internet to be shut down in order to avoid any unreasonable videos going viral. It's to protect the integrity of the voter. Very interesting. Ibrahim, I'm going to start with you because I know you're very entrenched and enmeshed in international affairs. Now, this is essentially digital censorship, and I don't know the laws in Uganda that contradict this or contravene this, but I think it's unacceptable. Not only is it wrong, constitutionally speaking, on the other hand, this is very, very unsafe. Should anything happen, should there be electoral violence, should there be killing, it is going to go largely undocumented. So on all sides, the electorate is exposed and censored and silenced.
One thing is to ask whether the excuse the government is giving, whether it is very tenable, saying that they want to curb misinformation, they want to curb malformation and all of that. It is not proper. Nigeria, for instance, we also criticize our own voting electoral system, but we've gone far, far, far ahead over many other African nations. For instance, we use the BVAS, biometric voter accreditation system. In Uganda, they use the BVVK, which is the biometric voter verification kit. So you ask the question, does it use the internet? No, it is still manual because they still rely on the paper balloting system and all of that. And with that, it allows anyone who wants to manipulate the election result. But Wine has been contesting for a long time. And we'll be asking the question, why do we have this sit tight syndrome problem in Nigeria, in Uganda, in Africa generally? There are so many youth there. Bobi Wine, I just mentioned that. You also mentioned he has been contesting a long time. Yoweri Museveni, come on, do you want to die on that seat?
Do you know that for these African leaders, sometimes I wonder, why don't you know when to stop dancing? The drum has stopped beating at this point, and you need to stop dancing.
Exactly.
Like 40 years and more, what else do you want to do again? The people are tired. Like, people get into power and then you think that it's your father's house, it's your birthright. I think he needs to go, honestly speaking. It's even quite annoying and irritating. 40 years? Nah.
When you see leaders that want to sit tight, it's because they've done something that they don't want people to know about. And the only person that can safeguard that information is them. To shut out the internet during voting. You did it in the last election, and that election was so heavily criticized, and there was violence everywhere. So is it that is your model of how elections should go?
Absolutely. To block digital spaces tells us there's a very troubling trend going on in Uganda.